Welcome back to the channel. We're back on the Mustang project. You might be wondering, well, Zach, why are you sitting on a forklift if you're working on the Mustang? Well, some people use a hammer and dolly to work on their car's bodywork, but around here, we use the old forklift, ratchet strap, and a good old yanking to get her straightened out. And then we've got a big old tub of Bondo we're gonna smother on there. But before we do that, let me show you our process so you could do this at home. First, you're gonna need to get yourself a forklift and then ratchet strap. So, got her tightened up. This is where all our damage is. You can come in, get another look. If you didn't watch the last video, go back, check it out. But I showed a little closer detail. But we're gonna pull this out a little bit. All right, give her a go. Alright, so after that precision body work, we should be a little closer where we need. Alright, if my measurements are correct, we've moved about ½ inch. Would you say that's about right?
I'd say so.
We're going to have to figure something else out because obviously this isn't working. Welcome back to the Mustang video. It's continuing off of the video I started on and the project on the Mustang I started on now 2 months ago. But we're back and we're going to give this another shot. We left off trying to use the forklift to straighten the front of the chassis as much as we can before we start cutting and welding. And that didn't work with the forklift because the car was just sliding. So we now, let me show you, we now have the Mustang strapped down to the trailer, and then we're using the winch that is on the truck. Got the coveralls on there for safety, so if the cable snaps. But we're gonna give this a shot and see if it works. Alright, so we just put blocks under this subframe. We need to replace it anyways, but we don't want to damage any of the suspension of the car because I didn't get that with the front clip. It's working. Going.
Doesn't look like it got hit and moved everything kind of zigzaggy, like right here.
Like towards the passenger side?
Yeah, I wonder how, if it got hit up this way, it crinkled this, but I don't think this is bent. I think it's just a, you know, stress like this. I think if we pull out right here, I think that might be able to relieve the stress a little bit and make it look a little bit more normal.
All right.
The closer we get it, the easier it's going to be to cut it and fit all the parts off. But first, I think we just need to pull on these old parts because they're junk anyway.
Sounds like a plan. All right, give it a go.
There we go. All right, Andrew. Let's pull a little bit on this side now. We'll do it kind of even, alright?
Alright.
Stop. Let's go back behind here before we detach the bumper.
And attach the strap to my face.
Rip off. It would take a lot.
Break off.
Yeah. Well, we need back here, but it's so... Let's try it. Let's restrap back there.
We're gonna try to get the strap around here because this is, you know, the main crush zone. So we're trying to get pulled back out. This is a great point in the video, and make sure that you guys are hitting that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future videos. Now make sure you guys are in the comments telling me how redneck this is and how you'd be doing it, because I'd really like to know. But so far this has worked with 4 cars, so we're not just guesstimating. Well, now we're guesstimating, but we've done this before and the cars have turned out good. So, gotta use what you got.
Okay.
That'll do. So now I'm just reconnecting the grounds. That way I can drive the car off the trailer and then back into the shop over there. We pulled the car off the trailer and back into the shop, and you can see we've got the front clip behind the car, and then also I'm selling that Trans Am that's on the lift back there, but it started leaking transmission fluid, so great. But now we're just getting measurements and comparing the good portion of that car over there compared to what's bent up on this car, and we'll start lining up some body pieces, and that'll give us a good idea of where we need to start on the front end, or you might even have to take it back out and pull some more. So we started to figure out where we're going to locate our cut, and this is another tip, we're going to use this hole right here, the center of the hole, to locate our tape and our cut line. That way we know exactly where the new piece is going to be. And then now we're starting to cut this stuff so it's out of our way, because we're going to start trying to figure out in there, if the camera will focus, where's best to make our cut and splice on the new piece. But this cut we're making right here is just to get this out of the way. It's not going to be the final cut. Next day on the car, and we're starting to massage the frame rail, if you will, as you can hear. My dad's working on that, and then I'll walk you over here to the other half of the car. And Andrew's got started disassembling the front end on this car, and then we're gonna mainly use the hood of the good car, so the good hood, and carry it over here with the hinges and set it on the front of this car to give us an idea of how straight this is. We've also been taking a bunch of measurements and stuff to get an idea, but yeah, going good so far. And at any point in this video you got a question, just shoot it down in the comments, and I'll answer it to my best of my abilities. Alright, a little pro tip here. My dad needed a template as he's pounding out the frame rail, so cut this out, taped it up, and it matches perfectly. Oh, if I get the camera right, matches perfectly this frame rail, top, sides, and bottom of the good car. Then I'll take it over here to this car, and what he's going to do is hold it up to this bent frame rail and match it. So simple as that. Just a little tip, just some chipboard, cardboard, and tape. That's all you need. So my dad's just using a metal block and a hammer, and it's got that thing pretty good compared to what it was.
I bet the bottom just needs to go that way. Don't you think?
Yeah, I'd say we're getting there. Because where was that piece that you had just held up? Yeah, you can see what, and the end of this, is going to represent what that looked like before. So yeah, come a long ways. Don't need fancy tools. Andrew's got this car stripped down, and we're debating on leaving this front piece, because then we can just chop the frame and then bolt it to the good part of the actual car and use it to locate everything. So that's gonna do it for tonight. Make sure you're hitting that subscribe button if you're new to the channel, and fast forward to the next day. We're back on the Mustang project. Let me show you what we've been getting done. So last time we were cutting and trying to get this top frame rail, starting to get them straight, and so made this template. My dad's now got that pretty much good to go. Still have some work to do there, but we've got to get the radiator. So these lower frame pieces that were bent, we need the radiator set so we can locate everything else on the car. And so I've made these little brackets with the 1-inch dimple die, because the rubber grommet is 1 inch that the radiator sits down in. So those will sit where and replace the bent frame pieces. So they go there. And then I'm going to run 1-inch round tubing off the ends, and it's going to snake around the bottom of the radiator, basically protect it, come back in and connect over there. So that'll be better than factory. And then you also notice that we've got the hood on. That's just to help locate everything. And then while my dad and I have been working on the front end of the car, Andrew's got this donor car all stripped down. So right now he's working on grabbing these guys because we're transferring, or we're converting a 2016 car to a 2018 front clip, so we need these pieces for the fenders. So Andrew's working on that, and that's pretty much what's left of this car that we're going to need. Alright, as you saw, I got the radiator mounts, the bottom mounts welded in. Now it's time to take it back apart and work on the top frame rails. So we're getting ready to cut the top frame rail, and we've got our line drawn where we're going to cut. I'm going to cut about an 1/8 inch in front of that. That way when we go to fit the new piece, we can dial it right into where it needs to be. You can see down here I've already got the lower frame rail fixed, which is the basically engine cradle, but it also cradles the radiator. So that's repaired, ready to go. I just need to fully weld it up, but leaving everything tacked for now. But all I'm using to do this is a grinder with a cutoff wheel. Wear my face mask so no sparks get on my eyes, and just got to do it. Start cutting. We're going to cut here on the outside and then back a little bit on the inside. That way it's staggered, so it's stronger when we put it together. So let's get to cutting. You can see we're using a piece of frame rail off the other side of the car to build this back before we add on an additional piece. So that way we have more metal to work with. My dad's just getting final fitment put up there. He marked it out, and then I rough cut it with the big grinder, and then he's just going in with the little die grinder and making small adjustments. That way we get the fitment just right. You can see we got it pretty good so far. And then this side is now cut, and it's just waiting for a piece to be welded on. So we got this piece fitted up. We're starting to rebuild the top frame rail of the car. We're going to get it tacked on, and then we can, if I tack in the right spot where it's lined up now, we can line up the rest of that frame rail with the hammer and dolly. So let's get started. So I started welding the inside first, and I have the TIG welder pulsing. I have it set really low, and I have it pulsing at 2 pulses a second. That way it's controlling the heat applied, or I'm able to better control the heat applied to the metal so I don't burn through this thin stuff using the pulse setting of the welder. So that's a little tip for you if you're going to weld sheet metal at home. So we got the bottom side tacked that you just saw, and then we just tacked this top corner because you got to line up the corner first, and then we're just finding what's lined up next. So if you look on this side, this seam right here is lined up. If you can see, we're going to put a tack there, and then these top two still need a little bit of work. And again, this is the frame rail piece from the other side, so we have to massage it a little bit to fit, but we're just little by little, and we'll have it welded up in no time. It's as simple as that. We're over here at the good car, getting the frame rails cut off of it, but now we've got this marked out compared to what frame rail we have left on the bad side of that car that we're fixing, and I'm going to cut to the rear of the cut line. That way it gives us plenty of adjustability. We can fit it up exactly where it needs to be on the good side of this car, and so yeah, let's get to cutting. I've got the cuts made, and then Andrew's going to drill out the spot welds and then pry the 2 halves apart at the seam there, and then we're going to get it fitted to the other car. So you can see Andrew got all the spot welds drilled out of the frame rails and took both frame rails and the bumper off as one piece. This side's clamped in, and I'm using this hole as a reference, and it's supposed to be a perfect circle there. So I got some trimming on this side to do, and then need to get this squeezed in there and clamped and start marking where to trim up the passenger side frame rail. But just keep trimming back and forth until the measurements are correct and everything lines up, and then I'll weld it in. As you can see, we got the front frame rail and bumper lined up, clamped on. I'm about to tack it, but we had to take it off probably 4 or 5 times and grind. I would take Sharpie and mark, and Andrew and I would carry it over. He'd hold it down and I'd grind just a little bit at a time on both sides and until it lined up perfect. And we got it there, and so we're gonna tack it and then set the body panels on and make sure our body lines line up. Alright, we got the car mocked up, all the body panels on, and we're just checking gaps. We've got everything taped on the edges. That way we don't damage anything. But we're checking the gaps here to make sure everything's good, because the frame rails, if you can see down there, are just tacked on and aren't welded up yet. But we've got a slight issue on the back of that fender. We're just going to see if we can adjust it to make sure it's good. That way it didn't get off on this frame rail over here or anything. But so far so good. We're finally at the point where we're welding the front frame pieces on the Mustang. You can see we've got them fitted up nice and tight, because we're TIG welding. You don't want any kind of gap. You want maybe just a hair, that way you can fill in the weld puddle, but you don't want to blow through it since it's such thin metal. So let's get to welding.
We got the new bracket on the driver's side frame rail bolted on because we welded the seam behind the bracket. But after bolting it on, we noticed that the upper core support is a little to the driver's side. So we're going to take a ratchet strap to the bracket to the other side of the frame to just straighten the bracket, because it could have gotten tweaked a little bit. The frame is straight, nothing wrong with that. We just want to get our clearances a little bit better for when putting the front clip back together.
As you saw, Andrew, I had to do a little adjusting on the front end to get everything to line back up once it was all welded. It's not that the frame moved, it's just that these brackets are in different spots compared to the last car, because they weld them in slightly different areas. And we're also doing a conversion front clip on it, so putting a newer front clip on an older car. But now we're just prepping for paint, so I'm using this die grinder with this disc that a lot of you guys might use to like clean engine heads for gaskets and any kind of metal engine surface. But I'm just giving it a quick once over the paint. So once it's all sanded and prepped, we're going to mask it all out, spray the car, and that'll be in the next video. We've done a majority of the repair work, everything that needed fabrication basically wanted to keep in this video. And the next one will be painting, assembling the car, and hopefully doing a test drive. So hope you found this beneficial. Hit that subscribe button if you did, and we'll catch you on the next one.